The terminal air felt thick with recycled tension, the mix of coffee steam, suitcase wheels, and hundreds of overlapping voices echoing off polished tiles. I shifted uncomfortably in the airport wheelchair, the metal frame creaking beneath me. My abdomen pulsed with a deep ache, the kind that felt like my stitches were tugging every time I breathed. 2 days ago, I'd been in a hospital bed, groggy from anesthesia, swearing to my doctor that I'd stay still and take it easy. He'd frowned, handed me a packet of painkillers, and said, "If you must travel, don't walk anywhere. Use a wheelchair." And so here I was, clutching my discharge papers in one hand, my boarding pass in the other, and trying not to look as miserable as I felt. My brother, Liam, pushed the wheelchair carefully, steering us past the long security lines. He'd been patient the entire morning, helping me through check-in, grabbing my water, making sure I took my meds on time. Every bump we hit on the airport floor sent a jolt through my abdomen, but I bit back the groan. I just wanted to get home. "Almost there," Liam said as we neared our gate. His voice was steady, but I could tell he was tired too. "You doing okay?" "I'm fine." I lied. My lips barely moved. "Just want to sit somewhere quiet until boarding." We rolled toward an empty corner near the gate where sunlight streamed through tall glass windows. I could finally exhale a little until I saw her. She was impossible to miss. A woman in her 50s, dressed like she was headed to a brunch photo shoot rather than a flight. Her hair was styled perfectly, her sunglasses perched high on her head like a crown. She dragged 2 large carry-ons and a designer tote that looked heavy enough to hold a bowling ball. And of course, she was on the phone loudly. "I don't care, Greg. Tell them to hold the plane," she barked, pacing back and forth. "You know how much I paid for that upgrade. I deserve priority boarding." I turned my head slightly, wishing she'd lower her voice. But as she hung up, she looked straight at me, not through me, but at me, her eyes narrowing with the kind of scrutiny that made my stomach twist harder than my stitches ever could. She marched over, heels clicking sharply on the floor. "Excuse me," she said, her tone commanding like someone who'd never been told no in her life. I blinked. "Yes." She pointed at my wheelchair. "Are you using that?" It took a second for her words to sink in. Yes. I just had surgery." "Well," she huffed, "I need it." Liam looked up, confused. "You what?" "I need the wheelchair," she repeated, like it was the most reasonable request in the world. "I've been walking since check-in, and my feet are killing me. I have a connecting flight, and I cannot stand any longer, so if you don't mind." She stepped forward as if to take the handles. Liam moved between us, blocking her. "Ma'am, she's recovering from surgery. She needs the chair." Karen, because her energy screamed, Karen scoffed. "Oh, please, she looks fine to me. If she's strong enough to fly, she's strong enough to walk." Her words burned hotter than my incision. I tightened my grip on the armrest, trying to stay calm. "I can't walk far." My doctor said. "Oh, come on," she interrupted, rolling her eyes. "You people abuse these things all the time. My niece works in healthcare. She sees it constantly. The nerve, the audacity. I'm sorry, but this is mine," I said, my voice barely steady. She crossed her arms. "No, it's the airport's wheelchair, meaning it's public property, meaning I have as much right to it as you do." Liam exhaled sharply, trying to stay composed. "That's not how it works. You can't just take someone's medical assistance." Karen's lips tightened. "You don't need to raise your voice. I'm not stealing anything. I'm borrowing it." With that, she reached over and grabbed the wheelchair handles. The world went still for a second. I felt her tug, the chair shifting beneath me. My pain flared instantly, like fire spreading through my abdomen. Liam's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Don't you dare touch her." Karen stumbled back, gasping theatrically. "Excuse me, you can't speak to me like that. I'll have you reported for harassment." People started turning their heads now, travelers waiting nearby, families with kids, even a gate agent. Karen's voice grew louder, feeding off the attention. "This man just threatened me," she declared. "All I did was ask for assistance and he got aggressive." A flight attendant rushed over, clipboard in hand. "Is there a problem here?" "Yes," Karen snapped before anyone else could speak. "This girl is hogging the wheelchair. She's young and perfectly healthy, and I need it for medical reasons." The attendant's brow furrowed. "Ma'am, wheelchairs are reserved for passengers with documented mobility needs." "I have one," Karen insisted. "My feet are swollen. I can barely stand." I wanted to vanish into the floor, my face flushed with embarrassment and pain, but I forced the words out. "I'm recovering from surgery. I can't walk." Karen glared at me, her voice dripping with disbelief. "You're lying? You just don't want to give it up." The attendant looked horrified. "Ma'am, please stop. You can't accuse people of faking medical issues." But Karen wasn't listening. She was in full meltdown mode, eyes flashing, hands waving dramatically. "You people are unbelievable. I'm a frequent flyer. I'll have you all fired." The shouting drew airport security, 2 officers in dark uniforms approaching fast. One of them, Officer Ramirez, spoke calmly but firmly. "What's going on here?" Karen immediately turned her rage into tears. "Thank goodness, officers, these people are being abusive. They won't let me use the wheelchair I need." Ramirez turned to me. "Ma'am, is that true?" I shook my head quickly. "No, I just had abdominal surgery. She tried to take my chair." The flight attendant confirmed it, nodding. "That's exactly what happened." The officer turned back to Karen. "Ma'am, did you grab the wheelchair?" Karen folded her arms. "I didn't grab it. I just touched it because she wouldn't move. How was I supposed to know she's sick, ma'am?" The second officer said evenly, "You can't touch another passenger's mobility aid or personal space. That's harassment under airport policy." "Oh, don't be ridiculous." She spat, her composure slipping. "I'm just asking for basic human decency." And before anyone could react, she yanked the wheelchair handles again. Hard, the motion jolted my stitches so sharply I gasped out loud, clutching my side. That was all it took for Officer Ramirez to step forward. He grabbed her wrist gently but firmly. "Ma'am, stop right there." Karen twisted in his grip, her voice rising to a shriek. "Are you arresting me for asking for a wheelchair? You're being detained for disorderly conduct and harassment," he said calmly. "You need to come with us." The terminal went silent. Every eye followed as the officers guided her away, her words echoing through the hall. "This is outrageous. I'll sue you all. You don't know who I am." I sat frozen, shaking, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. Liam knelt beside me, his voice soft. "You okay?" I nodded weakly, fighting back the sting in my eyes. "Yeah, just stunned." He tried to smile. "Guess she didn't know you're tougher than you look." The flight attendant returned, resting a gentle hand on my shoulder. "Don't worry," she said softly. "We'll make sure she's not on your flight." For the first time all morning, I let out a long, shaky breath. The pain was still there, deep and raw, but something in my chest loosened. Karen had come in demanding control of everything around her. But in the end, the only thing she managed to control was how fast security escorted her out of that terminal. The gate area had finally quieted down by the time we boarded, but the echoes of what had happened still lingered in the air like static. I could feel the weight of people's eyes on me as Liam gently pushed the wheelchair down the narrow jet bridge. Some passengers avoided looking directly at us, pretending to scroll through their phones, while others stared openly, whispering to each other. I caught fragments of their murmurs. "That's her, the woman with the surgery. Did you see the one security took away?" The flight attendant at the door recognized me immediately. "Hi there, sweetheart," she said warmly, her voice soft and full of compassion. "We've got you set up in row 1, so you'll have some extra space. Just take your time." Liam smiled gratefully and helped me settle into the seat. I sank down slowly, wincing as my muscles protested. The cushion wasn't much, But after hours of sitting upright in the wheelchair, even this felt like luxury. I placed a small pillow over my stomach and adjusted my seatbelt carefully, the strap resting above my healing incision. Outside, I could see through the round window the bustle of baggage carts, the flashing lights of the tarmac, and then, suddenly, a scene that made my heart lurch. Karen was there. She was standing, or rather, being held between two airport security officers. Her face was flushed an angry red, her perfectly styled hair now disheveled, and her hands were animated as she shouted something that clearly wasn't going well for her. The officers were calm but firm, their expressions unreadable. Liam followed my gaze and smirked slightly. "Is that—" "Yeah," I whispered. "That's her." As if on cue, the flight attendant standing at the front of the plane stepped closer to the open door and glanced outside, catching the scene. She raised an eyebrow and muttered under her breath, "Oh, they're still dealing with her." Karen's voice was faint through the layers of metal and glass, but her tone was unmistakable, shrill, self-righteous, desperate. "This is ridiculous. I didn't do anything wrong. She doesn't even look sick." A few passengers near the front window noticed too. One man leaned over to his wife, whispering, "Isn't that the lady they escorted earlier?" His wife nodded. "Serves her right." The flight attendant turned to us, lowering her voice. "Don't worry, she's not boarding this flight. The airline manager already flagged her name in the system. She's being held for questioning." Liam gave a low chuckle. "Guess Karma's got an early boarding pass today." Despite the ache in my stomach, I laughed, quietly, carefully, not wanting to tear anything. Yeah, Karma didn't even wait for takeoff. The doors finally closed, sealing off the chaos outside. The engines hummed to life, and the captain's voice came over the speaker, calm and professional. "Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate your patience during the short delay. We're cleared for departure." As the plane taxied down the runway, I stared out the window again. The sun was beginning to dip below the horizon, streaking the sky in pink and orange. I pressed my hand gently over my abdomen, feeling the faint throbs beneath my palm. The pain was still there, but it had dulled, maybe from the medication, maybe from relief. When the plane lifted off, the cabin tilted and vibrated, pressing me softly into the seat. I closed my eyes and took a slow breath. I wasn't just leaving an airport. I was leaving behind that moment of helplessness, the humiliation of being accused, the anger that had burned like fever. About an hour into the flight, the same flight attendant returned, carrying a cup of tea and a small pack of crackers. "Compliments of the crew," she said kindly. "You've had quite the day." I smiled faintly. "Thank you, you didn't have to." She shrugged. "I wanted to. You handled yourself really well back there. Honestly," I said, wrapping my hands around the warm cup. I just froze. I didn't even know what to say. The attendant laughed softly. "You'd be surprised how many people do that. Some folks think being loud makes them right. It's nice to see someone stay calm under pressure." Liam grinned. "You didn't see her in the hospital. She's tougher than she looks." I gave him a sideways glance. Says the guy who almost fainted when they took out my Roman 4. The attendant chuckled and walked off to check on another row. I sipped my tea, feeling the warmth spread through me, calming the tension that had lingered in my shoulders. Outside, clouds drifted by like slow-moving islands. An hour later, my phone buzzed. I glanced down to see a notification from a local airport news feed, a small pop-up alert. "Passenger detained for disorderly conduct after altercation with disabled traveler at gate B12. Airport police confirm ongoing investigation." Liam leaned over. "That's her." I couldn't help but smile, though there was no gloating in it, just quiet satisfaction. "She really didn't think this through, did she?" He shook his head. "Some people never do. They live like the world owes them everything." The pilot's voice came over the intercom again, announcing we were beginning our descent. The flight attendants moved through the aisle, collecting cups and wrappers. The woman from earlier stopped beside us once more. "Just so you know," she said softly, "we filed an official report with TSA. That woman won't be traveling through this airport again for a while." I nodded, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and exhaustion. "Thank you. I didn't want trouble. I just wanted to get home." "I know," she said with a kind smile. "And you will safely." As the plane descended, I gazed out at the approaching city lights below. Roads twisted like glowing veins, cars drifting like tiny sparks. Everything looked calm from up here, no shouting, no arguing, just the quiet hum of the engines and the rhythmic flicker of navigation lights on the wing. When we landed, ground crew greeted us with a waiting wheelchair. A young airport assistant smiled as he rolled it up. "For you, ma'am," he said cheerfully. The crew radioed ahead. Liam helped me transfer from the seat. "Careful not to bump my side." I thanked the attendant again before being wheeled off the plane, my bag resting in my lap. As we entered the terminal, a few passengers from our flight gave me encouraging smiles. One older woman reached out as we passed. "You handled that beautifully, dear," she said softly. "Some people just need to be reminded of their place." I managed a small laugh. I think she got the message. The man walking beside her grinned. "Karma's got good aim, huh? Better than most security teams." Liam joked, and even the airport assistant laughed. We made our way toward baggage claim, the late evening hum of the airport surrounding us. My body was tired, every muscle aching, but my mind felt light. I kept thinking about Karen, sitting somewhere in a security office, filing complaints that would go nowhere, her voice echoing off sterile white walls. She'd walked into that terminal thinking she could take anything she wanted. Instead, she walked out escorted, her name on a report that would follow her for a long time. By the time we reached the exit, the city air was cool and refreshing. The taxi pulled up, and Liam carefully helped me inside. As the car rolled away from the terminal, I looked back through the window, just in time to see a small cluster of officers near the doors. One of them was Ramirez, the same officer who'd stopped her. He was speaking calmly into his radio, his expression unbothered. The streetlights flickered past, each one marking the distance between that chaos and the quiet safety ahead. I rested my head against the seat, closing my eyes as the driver merged onto the freeway. Liam reached over, squeezing my hand gently. "You did good today," he said. I smiled faintly, voice barely a whisper. "So did security," he laughed. "So did karma." And as the city lights blurred outside the window, I let the exhaustion pull me under, not from pain, not from fear, but from the strange comfort of knowing that, just this once, justice didn't wait. It rolled in on 4 wheels, wearing a security badge, and left entitlement in handcuffs.